is called Hell. A bright red color. We actually have to sign a waiver. Then I'll sign mine.
Hellacious wing waiver.
Today's an episode of Masters of Spice. We ask hot questions to faculty of Central Washington University. My name is Angus Beaton. I am a second-year grad student in the Information Technology Administrative Management Masters, and today we are interviewing Rodrigo. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for having me here. It's wonderful to be here. My name is Rodrigo Renteria-Valencia. I am an associate professor in anthropology and currently an interim associate dean for grad studies and research. So it's wonderful to be here. Thank you.
Appreciate it. So today we are going to be asking some questions. We are doing less heat to hell.
Okay, so what's the process here? Do you just dip it in it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Are we going in?
Yeah.
I'm hungry. Okay, we're good. Question.
Can you please tell us about your journey becoming the associate dean of the graduate studies?
It's a long journey. We need more wings.
Okay.
No, I was born and raised in Mexico City, and I initially, like my parents, started to study architecture, but then I realized there was a missing human element on it, and so, and this is common from many grad students, right? Like you start in a set path, and then you realize that life has many other questions, and the more you play, the more you learn that there are other options, and so I started playing with possibilities beyond architecture, and I at some point landed in anthropology, and I was like, oh, this is perfect. This is a discipline that allows me to talk to people, not just to define the spaces where they are living, but to like ask them questions about how they make meaningful these spaces. So that's how I ended up in anthropology, and I worked with indigenous communities at the beginning in Mexico to graduate from my bachelor's degree, and at some point I have the fortune to run into a faculty professor from the University of Arizona in Tucson that invited me to apply for the grad program at U of A. And it was a life-turning event because that very day when she asked me, like, hey, could you apply to a master's program, a PhD program actually, I was like, I am not a PhD material. I never conceived myself as going beyond a bachelor's degree. And so nonetheless, she planted the seed. She supported me in Marcela Vasquez Leon, still a professor at the University of Arizona. And she supported me in the letter of recommendation, going through the process. I finished my bachelor's degree, wrote a thesis. I applied for funding, I got the funding. So within a few months, my life did the 180-degree shift. And I ended up as a grad student at the University of Arizona, where I, in 9 years, completed my master's and my PhD. And that was an entire journey that was transformational in many ways. Grad studies it's a different life, it's a very unique life process, a changing one, a challenging one, a beautiful one. And so finishing finally about to finish my doctoral dissertation, I started to apply for jobs. And I ended up in Central Washington University, where I have been teaching since 2015. I taught classes. You were one of my students in Anthropology 137 for 7 years. And upon receiving tenure, I had the opportunity to become the associate dean the interim associate dean for grad studies and research. And the reason I took that opportunity is fundamentally to reproduce or to pass the gift that I was given by Marcela, by my professor, saying like, no, you are capable of doing this. There are these doors that can open for you. Follow me, and you can also become a grad student and transform your life through that journey if you choose to. And so now I take very seriously in this role the mission to open doors for students to say, maybe you haven't considered this. There's these opportunities for you. Maybe they work for you, and you can transform your life and the life of your family in the process. And so it doesn't work for everyone, but the people that decide to go to that door, I am here to support them, all of you, and to do the best that we can to make you get to the program, enjoy the program, be transformed by the experience, build community in the process, and then graduate and go and continue transforming the world. So that's how I got here.
That's excellent. I love it. It's a little backstory. Actually, my freshman year, a fall quarter, you were my professor for that class. And then I ended up getting a degree in anthropology, and then became a master's in a different area now. But I still use a lot of those things you taught me. So I do appreciate you coming today. This is great.
It's great to be here with you.
Right now we're going to have is number one, which is the first degree traditional buffalo.
Okay.
Yep. So.
Cheers.
Yeah.
That's pretty good. Sorry, everyone. We're in front of you.
What advice do you have for students considering graduate school? That's a big question. There's a lot that goes to that, but.
Well, I think the answer is in the question, to consider it a possibility, right? I think as San Agustin, the philosopher, at some point pondered, we don't know what we don't know. And the challenge of going to grad school is that for many people, especially first generation students, or students whose families have never gone beyond a bachelor's degree, might never consider graduate education, right? And so in that sense, it's a little bit of luck. It has, you have to be surrounded by people that at some point put that seed in your mind. Like grad studies is a possibility. It's a little different or fundamentally different from your undergrad education. And it's a transformational journey. It involves a different degree of commitment. It involves also for you to define where you're going in life a little bit more than an undergrad. And so in that sense, all of those considerations need to be first in someone's mind to say, oh, I can see myself as a grad student, right? And so in my experience at Central, having as someone coming from Mexico, was born and raised in Mexico City, someone that has also a PhD and teaches classes at Central, challenges sometimes the assumptions that because you look like something or you are coming from somewhere, you only belong here. And so in that sense, I have found that my identity can help many students see themselves in my shoes and say like, oh, he made it, right? I can also make it too. It's a possibility now just by the role modeling. It's a key way in which many students see themselves. Another fundamental path, and this is crucial for our institution, is graduate assistantships. To have many grad students teaching undergrads, being in the classroom, in the labs, helping undergrads through their journey, opens those windows in their students' minds, right? In terms of, oh, that's a master's student. I didn't know that there was a master's degree. Or what is the difference with a PhD degree? And so you start wondering, what is this next stage that I haven't heard of? And at some point, if you have the right people, the right support, just like I did with the professor in Arizona, my professor in Arizona, they can elevate you to say, yeah, this is actually a possibility that might work for you, that might change your journey in life, and that actually might bring you a more stable economically, but also in terms of lifestyle. So it's a little bit of serendipitous events, but also we can be intentional as an institution to expose our undergrad population to the idea that a master's and a PhD are a possibility that can transform their lives. So we're working hard to make that a more visible option for many of our students. And I think all of you grad students are fundamental in making that role modeling for our undergrads so they can see themselves in your shoes. So it's not just one person, a professor in this case, or an administrator, but usually grad students are the fundamental first point of contact in terms of opening those imaginaries and those possibilities for our students. So
that's excellent.
I think that was a long answer now.
No, that was great. I think that fully explained what do we need to know.
Yeah.
So we'll go to the next one, which is the Blazing Barbecue.
Okay.
Yes, that's the
Yeah.
Blazing Barbecue. And so this question kind of not on the academia route here, but we know you're a fan of Malinois dogs. So the question is, if you were a dog, what breed would you be? I know, serious questions out here today, okay?
That's a funny one because, well, are we eating first, I guess?
Yeah. Whatever you want to do, you know. There's no rules to this. We're making the rules.
I think it's hilarious how the fact that, and there's a name for that I'm forgetting, there's a word for that, when dogs look like their owners, right? There's a specific term that I don't have right now in my vocabulary. But I have always wondered, like I have a Belgian Malinois, which is this German Shepherd looking, very like streamlined. I was like, I don't look like my dogs. So I don't know why was I inclined to get that breed, because we don't look alike, right? And then not so long ago I realized, oh, it's not the looks, it's the behavior. That dog has a lot of energy. That dog is intense in terms of like it needs constantly to be doing something, right? It's a breed that needs a job. It's not just a pet. They are working dogs. And so my mind is constantly running, just like Cora's mind is constantly running. So in that sense, we don't look alike, but we approach life very similarly.
Okay.
Yeah?
That's great. Okay. So this is the second degree.
No, this is the second degree. We're in the Blazing.
No, we're in the Blaze Barbecue.
Yeah, which is good.
No, are we?
Yeah. Trust the process.
Okay.
I'm keeping track.
Okay.
I'm keeping track.
Okay. What made you want to go to grad school? You addressed on how you had a professor who led you, and what were some of the biggest takeaways from it? I know that's kind of a two-part.
I had the privilege that my parents, when I was born in Mexico City, my parents were already finishing their bachelor's degree in architecture. So I was technically not a first generation student, but that was it. There was no master's or PhD in my family. So when I moved to northern Mexico to work as an anthropologist to finish my research for my bachelor's degree, I again never considered myself as a grad student or grad studies as a possibility for a different life. It was after several years of working in the Sonoran Desert with indigenous communities and having that privilege that there was a point in my life where I say, okay, in terms of economic means, I need to make a decision in terms of, do I go back to Mexico City and get a higher paid job? I only have, or I'm finishing my bachelor's degree, what are my options? And so I had to do the life math, if you want, in terms of what is gonna work for me. And that's when Marcela Vasquez reached out to me and say, hey, why don't you come and do grad school? And for me, I cannot really express how transformational that was, not just in terms of the way I think about the world, but in the terms of the quality of life that I have now, right? Because it was not just, the challenge was not just going to grad school from just having an undergrad. It was also moving across countries, right? To get to a scholarly setting in a different language than the language that I spoke, where my English was extremely rudimentary at the time, right? Extremely basic. I have taken English for years, but you don't get better until you are really immersed in the culture and the situations. And so in that sense, it was very limited, my English. And nonetheless, I decided to take on the challenge of moving from one country to another, from one language to another, from one way of doing science that I already had mastered to actually a different way of doing science and academia. And so it was literally like a leap, an existential leap in terms of doing it. But if I must be honest, I was never afraid. I never felt limited in doing that, because and this is the most important privilege that I have had in my life, I have always been surrounded with people that support me in those decisions. And it's like, yeah, you go for it. You can do it. You can become something else. You can, if that's meaningful for you, follow that journey. And so in that context, I was able to say, make the decision and say like, okay, let's go to grad school, even though I didn't necessarily understood what that entirely meant or the life that it will bring to me eventually years nowadays, right? And so in that sense, to answer the question of what make you go to grad school, it's a number of reasons, but fundamentally it's like a new possibility of becoming something new, a new journey, a new way perhaps of thinking and doing in the world, a future life. And so in that sense, there are many reasons that at some point cluster to make me say, okay, you know what? Let's take this leap. Let's dare to jump into this journey. And so that's the first part of my answer.
Mm-hmm.
The second part was?
Okay, so the second part was...
I'll keep eating.
Oh yeah, okay, of course. What was your biggest takeaway from it?
There. Not there as a place. There as in D-I-R-E. There to do it, right?
Taking advantage of things that...
Taking advantage, believing yourself, right? Unfortunately, where I was in the Sonoran Desert living in Mexico, there was a couple of friends of mine that also were curious about grad education. And one of them decided to actually go to England and do a PhD in England, which was great. But the other one decided to instead say, no, I need to stay put and I need to keep preparing. I need to take more classes in English. I need to take maybe a couple of classes here and there in these other things to be ready. And unfortunately, to this day, that friend of mine is still there, getting ready, right? We are really, none of us is ever ready for everything, right? At some point, you just have to say, these are my toolkits, these are my experiences, I know this much, and just do it, just go for it, right? And just jump into that new path, and just figure it out as you do it. And so in that sense, my lesson was, no matter how uncertain at some days you might feel, or how limited your experience might be in your mind, or how many other deficits you think you have, at the end of the day, no grad student is ever ready for the process of transformation that is coming, right? Because grad education, the way it works, is going to be a challenging experience. No one is prepared. You just have to embrace it. You just have to grow with it. You just have to go through the journey, right? And that's the transformative part of being a grad student. That you, at some point, you just have to leave your comfort zone. And that's perhaps the first big important lesson of going to grad school. Grad school means leaving your comfort zone, right? Leaving your comfort zone to be challenged by a program, to be pushing yourself maybe where your family has never reached, right? And so in that sense, you just have to dare to do it and go for it and trust in the process. Surround yourself with people that are smart, that are supportive, that can guide you in moments of hardship, that can support you in moments of hardship. Build a community around you that can elevate you. And then just keep going and keep going and keep
That's
going.
Great. I mean, that's
until you go for it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a great way to put it. You know, that's fabulous.
This is fabulous too.
All right, food's great too. Mm-hmm. Okay, so
number 2, second degree.
Okay. Now we got second degree traditional buffalo. It's a question.
Oh, okay.
Not about academia, just life in general, but kind of an academia.
Mm-hmm.
So, if you were not in academia, what type of career do you think you'd be pursuing? That's a big one, because there's that's a lot of.
I know the answer for that.
Okay.
I said that I wanted to be an architect at some point, because my parents were architects. I like to build things. I like to design things. I like to construct things. I would love to go back to architecture. My dream was to become what's happening there? My dream was to do a master's in what you call landscape architecture.
Okay.
To design exterior spaces. And so I couldn't finish that dream, but if I could go back to school again, you're doing great. I will certainly go back to study architecture again. So I might do construction.
You never know, right?
No,
You go back.
And that's the beautiful thing about going to a graduate degree. Instead of defining you, when you go to a graduate degree, you realize that there are multiple options. That is just another path that you could take. But once you go to that graduate degree, many other doors open up, and you realize that you are not bounded to the life that you have been given, but that you actually can continue to become and change as many times as possible, right? And so in that sense, for me, life is a constant open possibility, right? And in that sense, I'm very happy where I am right now. I am very thankful. I love my job. I love working with all of you. But there's also always a possibility of new becomings elsewhere, right? And so I'm happy with that. I am happy with that. And I am not afraid of jumping and starting new paths, because that's what grad school taught me.
That's excellent. So you never know, right? Have a doctorate in anthropology, and then just you can always transition. It's open. That's a great way to do it.
A little bit of balance, right? Because I grew up in a household where my parents were, we were building our house. I was always going to school, but in the afternoons I was always helping my parents continue to build the house, building walls and the roof and whatnot. And so in that context, I always in my life have found somehow or another the balance of like thinking in academic terms, doing to academia, do a lot of mental work, but also do a lot of physical work. And so I love to work in my house. I love to keep fixing stuff, right? And I think that has been, as a strategy in grad education, a fundamental saver for me in terms of having some degree of balance. Not just dive deeply into just one narrative, but to have another thing that you can do that can some days help you balance grad education, which can be very intense. So that's a strategy like what has worked for me. But many students have many different strategies, right?
Very intense, very stressful.
It can be.
Yes. I mean, that's grad school. A lot of sleepless nights. A lot of gray hairs found after never having gray hairs. Next one is Nashville hot sauce. Nashville hot, excuse me. Hot sauce with cayenne peppers and brown sugar.
We're starting to have problems here.
Oh yeah, we're good.
Okay.
Just act like we're fine. What's the worst that can happen, right?
This looks a little radioactive.
It's fine. We'll be fine. Yeah. It's a little hot. Yeah. It's a little spicy.
A little bit.
Yeah.
I think. Pause.
What goals do you have for grad studies and GSA?
Just to support grad students' journeys all around, right? And to make GSA be at the center of those journeys, right? We have been talking about this forever, how the grad experience, because it's so transformative, it can also be very isolating, right? Very challenging, especially in the context of a pandemic or after a pandemic. And so in that sense, what we're trying to do GSA, and with the support of all of you, is to create a community, a living learning community that can support grad students at different times of their journey or all along their journey. And so what I'm trying to do as interim associate dean is to fundamentally take down roadblocks, make processes more easy to go through, increase resources in terms of grad assistantships or also Canvas sites, access to forms, all sorts of things that will make that journey easier. But again, at the end of the goal, the whole point is to actually make GSA that beating heart that can help grad students feel that they belong at Central, that they are supported, that they are elevated on a daily basis. And so it's in community that we find resilience. So that's what I see the fundamental part of GSA playing in grad studies, to have that resilience.
Okay. Third degree.
Salud.
Okay, so I'm gonna ask you the question.
That's really good.
What are your guilty pleasures after a long day of work?
These days, if I must confess, to play Uno.
Play Uno.
Yeah, at home.
Okay, that was unexpected, but
Yeah, no, it makes sense. Why? When I was a grad student, my mind was constantly gravitating. Like it was a non-stop chinchilla, right?
Okay.
And so in that context, not just as grad student, but also as a faculty member and now as administrator, I have learned to develop strategies to slow down, to create like a buffer zone. So I am not working all the time, but also reluctantly playing all the time, right?
Okay.
Which is a very common grad studies or grad student strategy, right? Grad students, because they are so overwhelmed, they are so like all the time working, all the time busy. But at the same time, because I was one, we are all the time resisting that and taking little breaks here or guilty pleasures there, right? But you are in your mindset never fully here or there. And I have learned that in my case, it's healthier to just say, I am right now at work and work really hard, but then get home and do something as silly as playing Uno, right, for a few rounds, mindless game, to actually decompress and be able to then transition to the rest of your day, right?
that's
That's
fabulous.
a guilty
I mean,
pleasure. And my son, who is 12 years old, loves it. Not so much when I win.
who
but
wins? Who wins usually?
He's really good.
Okay. So he wins. Okay.
Yeah.
That's good. You know, I think that these questions are showing sides that even I, after knowing you for 7 years, I didn't know you were an avid Uno player.
My obscure secret that was playing Uno.
Oh,
Yes,
I'm
I
sorry.
know.
You know, it's out.
Yeah.
The
I
Uno
play-
secret's out.
I play a lot of Uno.
You might have people come up to you. Hey, that's the man, the myth,
Maybe
the legend,
next time we
Uno
should do
player.
like an Uno contest with like chicken wings. The cards will be all greasy.
All right.
Anyway,
I mean,
let's
that's
keep
the
going.
one downside. That is one downside. Okay.
List.
So, we have blister traditional buffalo 5th degree heat.
Oh my. Well, if I must confess
Producer
something,
said.
coming from Mexico, I
Yes.
kind of have been training for this moment for a
You
while.
were saying that. It kind of made me a little nervous because
So I am okay.
I like my house foods, but when you said I've been training, it kind of threw me off. Okay.
Just for a few years.
So, this is another kind of obscure question.
Okay. I have more Uno answers.
Okay.
Keep going.
What cryptid, so like Bigfoot, do you believe does or does not exist? Like, what is there any like that you believe you're like, I know Bigfoot exists because you know we're in Washington State. Like that's a question. You go to the hills. That's someone who's an avid user of public lands in the hills. You're gonna get a lot of interesting cancers. So what do you think?
That's a fun one because as an anthropologist, I can give you the anthropological answer, right? And it's like, however many monsters we want to believe exist because they exist in our minds, right? That's the beautiful thing about the human mind and imagination, is that we can talk about, and you got this lecture in my class. But someday through language, I can say, oh, Angus, please imagine, close your eyes and imagine a pink elephant dancing on a tutu on an island, right? And you saw it in your mind. Does that mean that creature exists? Yes, in your mind. Because thanks to language, we can create these alternative worlds that are not here and there. I still have you here. And so, in that
I'm listening.
in that
I'm
context, for me as an anthropologist, it's not so much the challenge of like what actually existed or has existed, right, in terms of creatures or monsters, but to go to those communities, to those places like Washington State, and learn from those imaginaries, and to a certain extent make them yours. It's not a matter of if it actually existed. It's the fact that people believe that for me it's more fun, right? Yeah.
Okay. Do you believe they exist?
Yes, in our minds. And,
So you don't believe they exist? In our minds they exist. In real life, are you gonna go up to the hills and Monash Tash and see Bigfoot? Are you a Bigfoot chaser? What?
No,
That's what we're trying to
Bigfoot chaser.
get. You're Uno player. We're trying to get the answers out of here.
Well, we have the chupacabras.
Okay. Is that real?
No.
Oh.
There was a friend from Puerto Rico many years ago, and she taught me a little bit of like spiritism from the island. And according to her, she could see people that have passed. And for years I wondered, and I really wonder, like, is this real? Is this not? And so I think what matters is to understand that, again, it's not the matter of does it exist or not. Is if we as a community decide to believe, that's the whole value of it, because it makes us think in a certain way.
So if our community believes in it, then
Yeah.
we believe in it, and
Yeah.
we kind of bring it.
That's
Okay.
good.
Okay.
No,
See,
that was a very boring question.
He did not give an answer.
No, it was
A
a very
direct
boring. It
answer.
was an anthropological answer.
Yeah, that was a very anthropological answer right there. He's been studying for this for years. Okay.
Well, we have to do the next one.
We do the next one, which is fifth degree.
Okay. This one looks good.
And yeah, let's there's a lot of flakes in this.
Mm-hmm.
It's gonna be a little scary, but it's fine.
Oh, this is good. It's sweet.
Just where to get you. A little sweet and a little spicy after.
Mm-hmm. Really good.
Okay.
Okay, now I'm sweating officially. Let's go.
It's fine. So, as you said, you did a few years of grad school, a few years of PhD, but you started off grad school. You have a lot of like conceptions, like, okay, this is what it's going to be. You really work, so you fall back on these meals that you're like struggle meals, as what some would call it. What was your struggle meal? What was young Rodrigo eating in his house or apartment or dorm this first year going, you know what? I have 12 hours of homework and I have 13 hours left of the day. What are you grabbing?
Well, if I am eating outside, and this I did a lot of when I was a grad student, I think we have now that chain here, Chipotle. I did a lot of Chipotle as a grad student. A lot of Chipotle. That was my guilty pleasure as a grad student. It's like, I don't have time. I have to teach classes or take classes. Chipotle run, through room, perfect. Mexican enough, let's go for it. At home, it was more challenging because it depends on where I was. In northern Mexico, before Arizona, you have great taco stands for carne asada. So that was a no-brainer, right? But you have to wait. The carne asada in Sonora starts late in the evenings. It's not during the day for the most part. So you have to wait for dinner to have carne asada. That was another guilty pleasure, not cooking at home. At home, because I first moved from Mexico City to northern Mexico, I have seen my grandmother cook for years. I have seen my mother cook for years. And I kind of have a sense of how they did things. But I remember going as now someone living in northern Mexico away from home for 5 years before I actually went to Arizona, going to and you are too young for this, but to the payphone in the street, putting coins and dialing, Mom, how do you make rice? Mom, how do you make this other thing or this other thing, right? And so in that sense, it was, unfortunately, I didn't learn this when I was with my mom. It's until I moved away that all of a sudden I needed that flavor for home. And I constantly call her. To this day, I have the document that one day I decided to put together about recipes from my mom. And how do you cook rice? How do you cook this? How do you make mole? How do you make... And so...
Would that be easy to get from somewhere? Like if you wanted to give it to someone?
Yeah, I can teach you how to do that.
Okay.
And we can make one day mole from scratch.
Okay, I'm there for it.
But in terms of at home, easy to do, I don't know. Ramen.
Ramen? Okay.
Sure.
That's an answer. I feel like that's a very...
Not hot wings for sure.
Yes,
Ramen.
not hot wings. Okay. So this is the last question.
Oh my.
And now, this is...
Are we doing really hell?
Yes, this is called Hell. And it's a bright red color, which is natural.
Yes.
So we...
Oh my. And they
For
give
us,
you like
oh yeah, hold
half
on.
the doses.
Before we
so
do that,
nobody
we
dies.
actually have to sign a waiver.
Is
So,
that right?
yes. So I'll let you sign, then I'll sign mine.
Hellacious Wing Waiver at Wing Central Ellensburg. You can tag your video or photo with Hell Wing Central and we'll feature it on Facebook. Eating this wing might be hazardous to your health. You should not eat this wing if you have a heart or respiratory problem, and it goes on and on and on and on.
Yeah.
I'm excited. Let's
Yeah.
do this. I have to sign.
I think we have to sign it. Both sign it. Cause
No, okay. Go ahead. Signature. Okay. First time signing some of these. And there's a witness. Rodrigo Renteria. You have to sign for me there.
Okay. I'll,
That I did this under my will. Right? I'm very excited about this.
I will give you that. I'll witness yours. And then you witness mine.
Okay.
Put this away, so
So we're covered by
we're
the law.
good. We're covered.
It's called a contract.
Okay.
So
But this is the challenge. This one we have to really dip in. Like, really dip in. Like, for
okay,
real.
we'll see about that. Okay. So, can you explain? There's a picture we found in a deep dark web.
You are asking the question without eating. Oh my.
So, can you what's going through your head at this moment? And could you give us like a backstory to this photo, or what would you give this young man some advice? Wow. And
Remember, I was.
This is also for you as well. You can
Thank
keep
you
that.
so
You
much.
can like
Can
frame
everybody see
it.
this? Yeah.
Yes,
It's been a few years.
there's not much change though. That's a positive.
You know, that's actually a. You nail it, because this is me as a grad student,
Yeah.
right?
There was a lot.
This
There
is me
was
as a grad student, and there, I remember the day that picture was taken. My last 2 years finishing my doctoral degree, I had a baby, right? And so my partner at the time, Mateo's mother, was also a doctoral student, and so if grad education is challenging, having a baby at the end of it, it's even more challenging, right? So I remember that picture. It was I had applied for a program at the U of A called the Carson Scholar Program, which is environmental studies program where they brought a cohort. I think it was part of the second cohort. Wait, I haven't done this.
No, I'm not. I'm just prepping it. You keep talking. Don't even look at me. I'm just.
This looks so good. And so they prep you for a year to do public speaking. And so in that context, it kicks later, but it's good. In that context, I was part of that cohort, and that morning I got the news that I had been accepted, but that I needed to submit a picture. And so, in that sense, I asked Mateo's mother, "Hey, can you I need a professional Photoshop." So we went outside of the house. Mateo was sleeping, and she just kind of like took the camera and took that picture in the house where we were living. And that is me as a grad student, with little sleep, excited about continuing my journey as a grad student, but completely exhausted. And yet, I like that smile because it's a smile of someone that is continuously learning and becoming something else, right? There's a lot happening on that side of the day.
I'm thriving. See, that's a great backstory. You know, thank goodness our production crew found that.
Are we done?
We're done. We're done. I would like to thank you and for taking time of your day to do this. I'd like to thank Wings Central for the wings and sauce. You can find their socials at Wings Central Eberg. Tell them GSA sent you. Also, a huge thank you. Wow, it's hard to speak right now. Also, a huge thank you to the Multimodal Education Center housed in Samuelson for the equipment.
Yes, thank you, Nat. I appreciate it.
Nat, excellent job. Man behind the cameras, man behind the lights. It's a great light we have here. Yeah. So we have Sheila, the editor. She's not here today, but doing work. We have Weston, producer, cameraman, right here. And we have Mariah, our producer, who set everything up behind the everything. And I'd like to thank everyone for being here today. I hope you liked our pain and suffering, and I hope you learned some things.
It was great. Thank you, everyone.
Yeah,
I'm crying now.
Yeah. Just make sure you don't touch your hands to your face.
Okay.
When I was informed.
Yeah. Will do.
Yeah, and if you want any orange juice, we got it. If you want any milk, we got it. If you want any napkins,
Rossum, thank you.
Rossum, we got it.
No, thank you so much. It was great being here. I really appreciate I really appreciate what GSA is doing.
Yeah.
To create a sense of community here, and this was our first great pilot. So let's do it again.
Yeah, it was great. Thank you. And signing out.
Thank you, everyone. Have a good one.
Have a great
Let's keep finishing
day.
this thing.
Yeah. We'll keep eating this great hell. That's all that's written on there.
Good.
Yeah.